What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Katana kit. Alright guys, so the random question of the day is, what is your favorite Thanksgiving Day food? What do you guys like to eat on Thanksgiving? Do you even celebrate Thanksgiving? I want to hear from you guys right down there in the comments box below. Personally, I'm going to say mashed potatoes and gravy. How good are mashed potatoes and gravy? I absolutely love them. I could just fill an entire plate with mashed potatoes and gravy, and I would be personally super duper happy. But let me hear from you guys right down there in the comments box. So this right here is the Katana Universal Kit from iJoy. It's a 5-in-1. You get 4 toppers and a mod, and that is something that's really super cool, especially for the price point, which we'll talk about in just a second here. With a big, huge shout out and thank you going to iJoy for allowing me to take a look at one of these devices for the purpose of making this video. So taking a quick look online, this device still has yet to be released by iJoy, but it is coming soon, and the colors that you will be able to get are black, white, silver, red, blue, rainbow, and bronze, and it's only going to run you $100 for this 5-in-1 kit. I have seen other versions that only come with a sub-ohm tank for about $75, but of course those prices may change upon the release date. If you guys are interested in this product, I'll leave a link to iJoy's official website on my website. Link to that will be right down there in the description below. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive down to the close-up view and take a better look at this thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, we've got the Katana Universal Kit in its original box, so let's quickly take a look around the packaging, then we'll talk about what's inside. So, if you didn't already know, this is a reviewer's sample copy, not the full retail version. Packaging and everything could change by the time this thing comes out, but let's just go ahead and take a look at what we got in front of us. So, let's just take this band off real quick, because I feel like that kind of takes away from the overall aesthetic, if you will. Very minimalist packaging here. Katana Universal Kit with a plain black emboss, really nice, very classy looking. Nothing on that side. iJoy right there at the bottom. Nothing on that side. iJoy at the top. And on the back here, we have a color indication, UPC, some warnings, and some basic stuff right there. Really not a whole lot of information. I have a feeling this will eventually change for the full retail copies. But with that, you do still have a scratch and check there, which is kind of neat. Let's take a look at what we get under the hood here. Yeah, this really nicely presented Universal Kit. This one says mirror black. I'm not really sure if that's accurate or what, but in either case here, let's just go ahead and take that off. So let's take a quick look at all of the pieces of this kit. First of all, we have this little guy up here. This is the mouth to lung tank. There you go. You can get a little quick look at that. Next thing is an actual RDA. You get an RDA with this kit as well, so tons of value for your money with this one here. There's a little quick look at that. We'll be taking a better look in just a second here. We've got a salt pod system, kind of like the one that comes in the Diamond VPC kit. In fact, it's basically just like its bigger brother here, but in any case, moving on, we've got, last but not least, a sub-ohm tank. So there is a big honkin' sub-ohm tank with bubble glass and the whole 9 yards there. And of course, we have the Katana mod itself. Kind of a hybrid between a box mod and a stick mod. It's like, got this square configuration going on, and a very kind of simple design overall. So that does it for the hardware aspect. Let's take a look underneath here. We have our warranty card, you know, your typical stuff there. We've got a big old fold-out manual. Yeah, I know it's fold-out, so I guess minus points, but this, again, could all change for the final retail version. We don't know. Some basic information on there, some big graphics. They're not color, but you know what? I don't think this thing even really needs color graphics because this is a very simple mod. And, of course, we have our obligatory box O parts, and there's a lot in here, so let's just go through them really quickly. We have a little bit of cotton for your RDA. We've got, of course, the obligatory USB cable, and this is a nice braided fabric one with a little spring there at the end so it doesn't get all frayed and nasty. So yeah, definitely better than average. We have a replacement straight glass for your sub-ohm tank. We have a whole bunch of different stuff for the RDA, and just a bunch of different pieces and parts and all sorts of doodads there. We've got some a vape band, we've got a 510 adapter, we've got a little O-ring adapter there for the tank, and a little piece of mesh, and some screws and springs and all sorts of other stuff there. So yeah, we've got a little tiny baby coil. This one is going to be for the little tiny mouth to lung tank. We've got a big honking beast of a coil for the sub-ohm tank. This is one of their like triple coil ones. Hopefully you guys can see that. We've got kind of another tiny little coil that's going to be for the salt pod tank. And last but not least, we have the little black screwdriver. All right, guys, let's talk about the specs. First of all, it's got a built-in internal 3000 milliamp hour battery. It supports atomizers up to 25 millimeters with no overhang. It has a IWEPAL chipset. Max wattage is 81 watts. Resistance range is 0.05 to 3 ohms. It has 3-button navigation, fire button, and up and down buttons. Multiple vape modes including power, pod, mouth to lung, TC, and bypass mode. It has a crisp 0.96-inch OLED display, short circuit protections, low power protection, and stainless steel 510 threads. The Katana sub-ohm tank is 25 millimeters in diameter. It holds 5.5 mils with the bubble tank or 4 mils with the straight glass tank. Slide to fill top cap. It supports the KM coil family as well as the X3 and DM coil family, which are all compatible with this tank. And it has a fully adjustable bottom airflow, which has triangular airflow holes. The Katana RDA is 24 millimeters in diameter. It has a 2-post bridge clamp design, bottom airflow slots, single and dual coil builds compatible, gold-plated BF squonk pin included, and it comes with an 810 PEI drip tip. The VPC unipod is 19 millimeters in diameter. It holds 2 mils of juice. Its resistance is 1 ohm, rated for 10 to 15 watts, and the coil is made of ceramic. It's side filling, and the unipod base is a 510 connection. The ELF MTL tank is 20 millimeters in diameter. It holds 2 mils of juice. It works best with 50/50 PGVG e-liquid. It supports the ELF coil family. It's compact and portable. Personalized design with a unique experience. Adjustable airflow with 5-level adjustments, including 0.8 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 1.2 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter, and 1.8 millimeter. And it's a real mouth-to-lung vaping experience. All right, guys, so real quick, I'm just going to run through the basics on the mod itself. So to turn it on, 5 clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like that, you get the little Katana splash screen, and you are good to go there. So as of right now, I am in wattage mode. It has all of the pertinent information on the screen there. As you can see, we've got these 2 buttons down here for your wattage adjustment, just down like that and up like that. Pretty simple there. If you want to change modes, just click the button 3 times right here. 3 clicks, goes to power, then you go temp, puff reset, exit, P mode, MTL, bypass, and pod. So it actually has modes specifically for at least 3 of the 4 tanks, which is kind of cool. So I'm just going to leave it in power mode for now. Let's go back to that, just like that. Tap the fire button and it exits the menu just like that. So very, very, very simple operation here. And there you can see the 510 connection, which is secured into place with 2 screws there. Very, very sturdy, no complaints whatsoever. And on the bottom, you can see the engraving, which is kind of neat. Definitely an eye catcher for sure, I would say. But yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the mod itself is concerned. All right, let's go through these tanks. First of all, we have the sub-ohm tank here. Pretty much your standard run-of-the-mill sub-ohm tank. It's got a bubble glass, which increases capacity. It's a slide-open top fill, which on mine, it's very, very loose. But I've heard from iJoy that they have already corrected this issue, which is nice. The drip tip is not an 810, which is kind of a bummer. It does have an O-ring on it, as you can see here. So your 810s aren't really going to fit in there, unfortunately. On the bottom here, we have that unique triangular shaped airflow, which I really don't see that much of a difference between it. I mean, between this and a Cyclops eye, I really can't tell. As far as the coils are concerned, they do last quite a while. I'm still using the original coil, and I've gone through many, many bottles of juice with it already, so that is definitely a good thing in my mind. However, I really don't know if I'll actually go out and get more of these coils when I run out. So there's that. And of course on the bottom here, just basically designed by iJoy, and it has the Katana logo on there. Not sure if you guys can see that, but it's nothing super duper special. Next up, we have the VPC salt tank. Now this one here is, if you couldn't tell already, basically the bigger brother to the Diamond VPC tank that comes with the kit there. So yeah, pretty much the same design, except for the fact that this one actually takes a removable coil. So this one here, you can just unscrew this base piece and it comes out with this little tiny coil like this one right there. there. So that's kind of neat, and it's nice that you can replace that coil and not have to throw away this whole pod. It is refillable with this little side piece right there, and the drip tip itself is built in, so you don't get to choose which tip you want to use for this thing, which is kind of unfortunate, but not a big deal breaker in my book. You do have adjustable airflow down here towards the bottom. As you can see, I've got it very, very much cut off. That's because I like a nice tight draw for mouth to lung. I don't get a whole lot of problems with the contacts with this one here. Occasionally it will say no atomizer, but you just got to kind of squeeze it back together a little bit tighter, and then it works just fine. It is universal, so you can flip this piece around either which way, which is nice, and it will work no matter which way it's in there. And you have the airflow right there at the bottom, which just kind of leads air into the chamber towards the bottom, and then your airflow control kind of takes over the rest. But otherwise, that's about it as far as this tank is concerned. You can see the little engravings at the bottom, max VPC and that kind of thing there. Here we have the ELF MTL tank, and once again, you cannot pick your drip tip because it is built in, so that's kind of unfortunate because I'm really not a big fan of this tip personally. It has a little color to it. It's got the black on the top and bottom, which is a nice touch there, and it's one of those child resistant ones where you have to push down on it before you turn, so that way the top comes off, and that's how you top fill this thing, just like that. Pretty easy to maintain this thing overall. You just want to pop that back on just like that. Kind of push down while you do it, otherwise it's gonna not thread on there. We have our airflow control down here at the bottom, which you have 5 different settings for. I tend to use it with one of the smallest holes, one of those 2 there, but it does have 5 options total. To get this off, you just unscrew that, and the coil is in there with an O-ring, so it is just in there with friction. Hopefully you guys can see inside there, that is a mesh coil, a mouth to lung mesh coil, which is really, really cool. The flavor on these things are pretty decent, so yeah, not too bad there. Let's just go ahead and put that back together real quick, and it's just as simple as that. And of course, here's the engravings on the bottom. And that leaves us with the Katana RDA. So starting from top to bottom, we have this Ultim 810 drip tip. Pretty standard drip tip, as you can see there. Nice wide bore going all the way through. And of course, same on the bottom. It's a little bit on the taller side, so I'm not a fan of it. Overall, I mean, I really don't like Ultim anyways, but it is in fact 810. As you can see, we have our 810 tip on there. This top cap does have an O-ring in it. Hopefully you guys can see that, and that holds your drip tips in there nicely. We have double O-rings on the top cap, and this top cap actually has a little bit of a weight to it, kind of more than the barrel section, which is a little bit odd. Then we have our deck and barrel here. The barrel is literally just that. It's just a barrel because there's no airflow on the actual barrel section. It's all from the bottom of the RDA. So let's get that in focus real quick for you and show you the engraving there and some juice all over it. But yeah, that's pretty much the most exciting part of that barrel section. We can see the clamp style build deck with my build still in it. And yeah, not the biggest fan of this overall. It feels really, really cheap. The screws are just atrocious. I'm really not a fan of those screws whatsoever. And this is like my best attempt here. I mean, this is really clean compared to my first attempt at it, because tucking that cotton into that juice well is a chore. There is not a lot of room in there. So just be aware of that. Not to mention the fact that this build came out to 0.08. So yeah, probably build this with normal wire coils instead of mesh, because yeah, mesh doesn't quite work well considering how low resistance it is. You can see the airflow holes peeping up from underneath there. In my opinion, they are undersized. It needs to be a little bit bigger. And if anything, it needs to be a little bit closer to the posts, because you have to kind of bring your coils all the way out to the edge as far as you can in order to be hit directly by those airflow holes. So not the greatest decision there in my opinion. And we have 2 O-rings holding on the top cap section with our airflow right here. It's a little bit smaller than a Kennedy. I'd say about 75% of what the Kennedy has to offer as far as airflow, which is not quite enough. So there's that. But of course, it depends on which build you want to put on top of there. On the bottom here, we can see the engravings, which once again are a little bit underwhelming. Nothing too special going on there. All right, guys, so that about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this close-up section. Let's go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the close-up section of the video. Now let's talk about my personal thoughts about this kit. Instead of doing pros and cons for each individual piece to this kit, we're going to be doing some bullet points and just kind of talking generally about the kit itself. So we're going to start it all off with the Ohm Tank. This guy right here. It's a decent Ohm Tank overall. The flavor and vapor production are adequate. I did have an issue with the top fill section of the tank. It opened up in my bag and spilled juice everywhere. I actually made a post about it on my Instagram page, and they actually replied to me and said that they have fixed this issue. Would I go out of my way to pick up coils for this thing after I go through the ones that came in this kit? Probably not. Next thing we're going to talk about is the salt pod tank. The way this tank works is very similar to something like the Nautilus AIO. It has decent mouth-to-lung airflow restriction with the aid of the airflow control right here at the bottom of the pod. Some of you might notice that this is very similar looking to the little tiny one that comes with the Diamond VPC kit, and yes, this is basically just the souped up version. However, with this one here, instead of having a disposable pod, it has a replaceable coil. I really like the fact that the mod that comes in this kit has a mode specifically for the pod. And next up, we've got the mouth-to-lung tank, this little guy right here. This one is, once again, very similar to an Aspire product. I would put this kind of side by side next to something like the Nautilus 2, but with this one here, you actually get a mesh coil with this tank. As far as the flavor and vapor production, they are both very good on this tank here. I would definitely put it side by side, once again, with the Aspire BVC coils. I would definitely recommend trying out 6 or 12 milligram freebase nicotine liquid with this tank here, because I feel like really that's where this one shines as compared to the salt pod tank. There's really not too much of a difference between this and the salt pod tank, other than the fact that this has a top fill cap, which is much more convenient, and it's a lot easier to find the airflow that you want because this one has 5 preset modes as opposed to the sliding Cyclops Eye style airflow control on the salt pod tank. And our final topper is this RDA, the Katana RDA, and I gotta say I was a little bit confused by what they were going after with this device here, but I saw this advertised with dual mesh coils and I just had to have a go for myself. One major flaw in this design is that there's almost no room to tuck your cotton in anywhere. The juice well on this thing is absolutely tiny, and I really had to struggle to wick this thing, so I basically just thinned it out as thin as possible and trimmed my wicks right at the very edge of the deck, and then just finagled the barrel section into place. I feel like this one's going to work best with 2.5mm inner diameter coils because there's almost no way you can fit the amount of wicking material necessary for 3 or 3.5mm coils into the juice well itself. So like I said, I've seen this one advertised with dual mesh coils and I just had to try it out for myself, so I did it with Kanthal A1 mesh wire and it still came out to 0.08. So I slapped it on the Warlock's hammer mod here and it's working okay, but I would say just skip the mesh wire with this one and go straight for normal coils. Overall, this kit has something for everyone, but still seems lacking in certain areas. In my opinion, the RDA is the weak point in this kit. It just seems like they rushed it out and doesn't really feel like a finished design. The screws on it are really terrible, and I'm just really not a fan of it overall. The Katana mod itself is very, very nice. I really like the form factor. It's not quite a stick, it's not quite a box mod, it's somewhere kind of mashed up in between. It has preset modes for the different tanks that come with the kit, and the battery life is excellent. I get almost all day off a single charge with the Ohm Tank. The Saltnik and mouth-to-lung tanks are very good as well in their own ways. It makes it so you don't have to go out and buy yourself a pod system, a stick battery, and a box mod. This kit has everything all wrapped up in one and for a fraction of the cost. So at the end of the day, would I go out of my way to pick one of these up if I didn't get this one in for review? You know what? When I first opened the box, I thought to myself, well, something that can do so many jobs cannot possibly be any good, but I wound up liking it. I really like the combination of the mod with the Ohm Tank. It seems best fitting in my opinion, but overall, just everything has its place with this kit, except for the RDA. I think that's a big time weak spot in my opinion, although I think I'm judging it a little bit more because I've tried out so many different RDAs, but this one is definitely disappointing. But if you guys want to pick one of these up for yourself, it's coming out very soon, so make sure you pay close attention to iJoy's website. Link to that will be on my website right down there in the description below. But that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Leave your comments down there in the box below, and check out the advocacy and my social media links right down there in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on!